Thank you very much, guys. Dystopia beating a relatively strong setup that we've seen throughout the tournament. Remember that if you have any questions for myself or the other experts, you can contact Rias Nia on IRC. He is in the EVE Online channel, the EVE TV channel, SI Radio, EVE Radio, pretty much every single channel on the network.
Including New Eden Radio.
Including New Eden Radio. Them too, them too.
And they're sensitive.
So, I want to talk about this match because I loved it. I loved it because it was entertaining, because the Caldari team lost, and because I pretty much had those setups pegged since this morning.
You are a genius.
I knew Tyrax was going to bring some variation of it, and I knew that Solar Fleet was going to go back.
I think that's why Tyrax is in trouble next round.
Do you think so?
I think his setup's real strong. I think it really says a lot that he beat that Solar Fleet setup that we've seen from so many other teams. But right now, it's too consistent, and I think he's going to be in trouble because he's probably going to have Pandemic Legion and, at the best case scenario, Cry Havoc, and they will beat it. I think if you ran something that didn't have dependence on logistics and had a lot of damage up front and was more defensively set up for countering all his ECM, you'd be in really good shape against this setup, which he's brought like 3 times now. I
love the curse. T-Days, do you love the curse?
The curse is very good. In the tournament, we're seeing a fair number of turret battleships. Curse is a very good way around that. Also, we're seeing a lot of logistics. The curse is a good thing around that as well.
Yes.
So you're able to counter 2 types of setups with 1 ship.
Yes, and you have the drones, so you have a bit of DPS
drones,
as well.
Yes, or you can use the drones for ECM if you really want to as well.
Is there a better logistics counter ship than the curse? No, there's not.
Nope.
I don't think so. Just quickly before we go on, remember that today is the day we have the big PCU competition. So log all your 10 accounts on. Get your mother to log her accounts on as well. Just get everyone online. The best thing you can do for EVE TV and the tournament is to have accounts logged on and tune into the broadcast. The more viewers we have and the more people online, the better. You have the details up on your screen right now. And of course, the person who gets closer to guessing our PCU breaking number between 8 and 9 tonight will receive I believe I've described it as a truckload of Eon magazines.
You've made many elaborate descriptions of the amount of Eons on the screen.
It's a massive truck that simply drives up next to your house and just unloads Eon magazines until it runs out, which could be relatively short because I think there's only like 15 Eon magazines.
Yes.
So it would be a bit of a waste to send a truck, but we don't really care.
It looks impressive. When it pulls up, your neighbours will be jealous.
Sorry?
When it turns up, your neighbours will be jealous.
That is absolutely true.
I think a Rook is a better counter.
Yes, that is a fair point. That is a fair point. And it really does a lot of things as well. The Rook is probably the strongest EW warfare ship we've seen here, isn't it? So what does the Rook do?
It jams people so they can't target anything on the opposing team, which has many, many applications.
Well, if there's anyone out there who is not like well versed in like the ways of Rook jamming Caldari truck, could you explain just a little bit about this E-warfare it does?
ECM is pretty straightforward. It's a mod that you put in your mid slot. It's bonused on the Rook, which is why the Rook is strong, but it works on any ship. And you can either fit a multi-spec, which has the same potential to jam any race's ship, or you can fit specific racial jammers, which have higher strength against certain ships. And the jamming is all chance-based, but the chance can be increased by ships like the Rook. And it locks your targeting out completely, so anything that requires a target cannot be used.
That is a very, very good description. So, T-Days, what do you think about this Drake Tengu logistics and command ship setup?
It's really quite strong. We've seen a lot of people using it last weekend. Got a lot of people through to the final. It also knocked a lot of people out who didn't realise they needed to actually score points to get through, and they just decided to tank up. It's very difficult to break down unless you manage to catch the logistic ship or bring overwhelming DPS.
Do you agree with Raya's assessment that it is boring, effective, but relatively easy to counter if you know people are bringing it?
I don't think it's, I mean, I think if you know they're going to bring it, it probably wouldn't be too difficult to counter. But I don't think it's that easy to counter. I think it's a pretty strong setup. I think regardless of what you think the chances are of them bringing the setup, it's not something you can just easily, bring something that can deal with it and also deal with other things. It's a really formidable setup.
I think it's a little bit like the Ishkur setup last year, which was also
Ishtar?
Ishtar, yes, that's true.
Ishkars too.
Ishkars are good ships, I love them. The Ishtar setup last year, it was really strong and a lot of people brought it, but once you got into the final 16, people stop bringing them because teams at that point are good enough to counter it.
Yeah.
Just like T-Rex now.
Yeah.
T-Rex, you know, for a while there when he lost some DPS, it looked a little bit shaky.
That was really
But I mean,
close.
let's face it. After those two Brutixes or what it was went down, they pretty much had the match.
I think the unfortunate thing for T-Rex in that match was the starting ranges. If they would have been close first off, that Scimitar would have gone down probably earlier, and then the team would have started to fold up sooner. But
yeah. I have just been informed in my ear that the next match is ready.
Awesome.
When we come back, I think we should talk a bit about FanFest.
Yes,
that would be cool.
let's do that.
It is Pandemic Legion versus Cry Havoc. This is pretty much, for me, a mini final. This is a really, really good one. So let's get quick predictions. Kiltu.
Pandemic Legion.
T-Days.
Pandemic Legion.
The one that has more Kaldari ships.
The one that has more Kaldari ships?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Pandemic Legion as well because they are just that good. Let's go.